Hey everybody, how's it going? Chris here. Got a good video to show you guys. Well, hopefully it'll be good. I mean, that's up to you to say whether it's good or not. But first, before I get into what I want to talk about, I want to show you guys this. This is pretty awesome. This is a mug that I just got from our favorite YouTuber from Down Under, and ctcspirit. I sent him a package a while ago and he wanted to return the favor, so he found something that really suited me. And of course that is the mug of Giant Size X-Men #1, which goes good with my Giant Size X-Men #1. I do have some coffee in here, some Tim Hortons, some home, you know, the canned stuff, because I live too far away from the actual Tim Hortons. But yeah, nice mug. It definitely suited me. I smiled as soon as I opened it up, and it's just an awesome mug. This was actually the first mug. I know you guys have seen my Marvel mug, the only other Marvel mug I have before. This was actually the mug that my wife ordered from the marvelshop.com. And it even showed on the invoice of the Giant Size X-Men mug, but the other Marvel Heroes mug came, so of course we're like, oh, it's going to be too much. I'm going to try to fight with them and send it back and get this one, and it's glass and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool that I ended up getting this mug, so, you know, I got it anyway, so just had to be patient, and here it is. So, but it's awesome. I love our community, how we can, you know, we have raffles, and, you know, the interactions that we have, and giving packages back and forth is just, it's a lot of fun. It's just awesome stuff. I mean, I can never thank anybody who has sent me stuff, you know, as much as I should, I guess. But I just really thank you guys. And I know I haven't received, or I haven't given back to everybody who sent me packages, but just know, and I'm sure you guys already do, but I mean, we're just so, you know, sending packages everywhere, and just know that, you know, I'm always paying things forward as much as I can. So eventually I'll probably come back to those people who have sent me something, but I haven't sent something back to them. But I do have a couple of packages that I'm sending out, so it always gets paid forward, so that's for sure. But I got a couple packages I'm going to be sending out as soon as I get some little extra money. That's the only thing that's holding me back right now is, you know, money. It's getting pretty tight, and times are changing, and, you know, there's a shift for, you know, us. That's just the way it is. Money is going up and down. So I got packages to send out, but no money to send them out. So so anyways, thank you very much. It's a really awesome mug. So now let's get into what I really want to talk about, which is going to make this video probably long enough, but I'll try to rush through it. And I kind of got some notes, but for the most part, as I do quite lately, is just wing it and blab through it, and I know I'm probably going to miss a lot of stuff. But anyways, a lot of you guys who have done videos in response to my What Influenced You video, this is my follow-up video. You guys did very good jobs on your videos. I loved hearing your guys' stories, you know, about your journey growing up with comic books, what they mean to you, and I love all the words that you guys said. And you gave quite a you know, just quite a history, and just kind of when you're small and all the way to kind of now. So and when I did my video, that was kind of the idea I was going for, but mine was very specific just on those two covers that influenced me very early on. So I want to kind of follow up and kind of do what you guys did, and go through kind of early years to present of me on comics. So hopefully this doesn't go way too long. And of course my collection is so disorganized that I'm really not going to show you covers if I have them. Maybe I might throw in some pictures, maybe not, but hopefully me talking is good enough for you. But anyways, just to start kind of at the beginning of comics, I lived in a small little hamlet, you know, hundreds of people, north of, kind of northeast, I think it is, of Edmonton. But it was a hamlet, only a couple hundred people, one grocery store, and had some newsstand comics. And of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures was my very first interaction with comic books. And so I thank my mom for ended up getting me comic books. The Archie Turtles were like $1.50, I think, back then. And so that's kind of where I first started with it. And of course, I was born in '82, so I grew up with the Turtles and all that kind of stuff. And of course, getting into comic books, which the comic books started off kind of related to the cartoon, but then quickly got away from that, and became a really awesome, great story. Worked itself into a future TMNT story, and it became something that was kind of quite dark and influential characters in the '90s for sure. The kind of stuff that they were touching on. I remember one scene in one of the comic books in the future stuff where I think it was Raphael having a dream sequence, and this acid rain was melting away his skin. And the stories that I've heard and read about the Turtles and the comics and those writers and whatnot, there was a lot of turmoil at times, I guess, about the stuff that they were producing. So, which I love it. I have a soft spot for the Turtles for sure, and a lot of my influences come from the '90s as well. From when I was 10 years old and up. I think I was 10 in '92. So, starting off with Turtles, and I had some action figures, and you know, the comic books. I was getting all those, and so now getting into the '90s. Of course, I told you about the issue of Wolverine '82, which came out in '94. But other things that were starting to come out in the early '90s, of course, was Spawn. I didn't get to know Spawn until a little later in the '90s. But anyways, Spawn came out in '90s. The new X-Men series came out in the '90s. What else? I'm trying to think of what else here. I got a little bit of a list. Oh, okay, yeah. Venom, I mean, was a huge '90s thing as well. I don't know. Some of the other Spider-Man stuff. Anyway, some very dark stuff that was happening in the '90s. And I really, of course, really started liking Wolverine once, you know, I told you that person from out of town, that new person came in, and just really introduced to, I think it might have been even that person who introduced me to, you know, Venom and Wolverine and some of the other Spider-Man stuff, which were a lot of dark heroes, and I love the dark heroes, and of course especially Wolverine, because the way he was written was quite, you know, you can kind of live through Wolverine and a lot of his models. Like, you know, he's kind of an a-hole but with a heart of gold, and in some situations, you know, because of the way I was brought up in my life situations and things like that, Wolverine was able to do things to people, you know, and bad guys that you wish you could do. Really good, you know, sense of honor and justice, and you know, his motives, I guess, you know, he did them in very brutal ways, but you know, if he was, you know, somebody was hurting a woman, you know, he'd go smack him around like crazy and make him pay for it. So, you know, and not really have any troubles about it, no worries or stuff like that. So, dark heroes, because of those, that they can be, you know, an a-hole with a heart of gold. I kind of like them. But yeah, Venom was a big influence as well. And looking back, I was looking on the computer and all this old stuff. They had some neat ideas back in the '90s, having a lot of embossed covers, and there was even a Venom glow-in-the-dark cover as well, which I thought was pretty neat. So yeah, through the '90s, that's what really influenced me. Just a lot of the dark heroes, and coming from a small town, not having the internet or anything like that, and rarely, you know, if you were able to go to another town and got a comics magazine or something like that, you'd find out a lot more. So it was much more of a journey and quite a find to get comic books or anything related to comic books where I was from. 90s as well. I'm kind of looking here. Cartoon gargoyles. They were very dark, you know, dark characters, gargoyles, but again, just really awesome, good-hearted characters that looked scary, but a character that you felt like you wanted to be. That was a very influential cartoon to me, and I did have some of the toys, and it did come to a point in my life before I moved to Farhead here, you know, transition between, you know, kind of kid and teenager. I started actually giving away all of my comic books, gave away all my Turtles, the TMNT figures that I used to have. I used to care for them so much, and if they were on their back, you know, I'd be, well, you know, they're on their back, they can't get back on their feet, you know. So turtles are just kind of like blondes, you know. Once they're on their back, they're, yeah, never mind. So yeah, there came to a point though I was like, I don't care, whatever. I started giving them away. I started beating them up. I gave away all my original TMNT Archies, and started going after some more of these dark, edgier characters. But of course, you know, later in years when I become an adult, I've gone back and I've gotten all those things that I love. Some of the other great Archie titles that were out in the 90s too. There was Sonic the Hedgehog. What else am I thinking here? Zen the Intergalactic Ninja, and of course he was much more rough character, I guess, and I can't remember who published them before, but Archie was taking some of these characters that were published by others and making a you know, an Archie kids form of them. There's also a comic book. It was Cowboys of Moo Mesa. I read some of those too, and they actually made an appearance in, I think it was one of last year's TMNT Tales, which was really cool. But yeah, there was just some really good Archies, and again, all these dark heroes I was getting into were big influences. And there's a lot of comic books I'd love to go back and get. I was looking on eBay, you know, kind of doing a little bit of research for my video I'm talking here, and yeah, I got some stuff on my list. I'm like, oh, I gotta get that. I remember that from my childhood, so I gotta get that. So there's that. That's where I'm sitting at in the 90s. And again, I know there's a lot of stuff I'm forgetting to talk about. Probably gonna remember it after this video. So we've gone, you know, through my 80s a little bit, into the 90s. Yeah. Now into high school and around the 2000s. I'm somebody. I didn't get my license, my driver's license, so I was just in my early 20s, and because just the way my family was, I come from a very I don't know, confined family with a very small world, and my mother was the only one who raised me, my sister, so very closed off, and my mom didn't know much about the I don't know, the world, or yes, or kept it from us, and never, you know, wanted to deal with, you know, or credit cards. You never go for a credit card, and she never knew about you know, post-secondary education and how to get into it and all these kind of things. So very confined, and I think my life, I think, you know, has been kind of slowed down in a way because of certain things. And my life has always been a struggle and uphill. Very poor family, you know, we were a welfare family, and now, of course, knowing I think what I could have had and what Mom should have showed me. Anyways, very good upbringing anyways, I'd say, but like I say, there's a lot of missed opportunities and some regrets in my life, but I love my mom, and you know, she raised me well anyways. So in my high school, I never had a vehicle, never had, you know, didn't have my license or anything like that, so always kind of had some friends with vehicles and licenses and stuff like that. So anytime that I got to go to the city, it was with friends, and I'd try to get them to stop by a comic book shop, or we'd go to West Edmonton Mall. So that was about the only times that I really get something. Always loved comic books, but it was hard to get those opportunities because I lived in a small town that only had maybe some newsstand issues. It was hard to really get the comic books I really wanted. Oh, and also, actually I forgot to tell you about Spawn. Spawn is one of those big comic books, again, a dark hero in the 90s. And I remember a person, when I still lived in Radway, that was the hamlet where I used to live as, there were some kids that came to visit some grandparents when they were during summertime. So these kids were only there during summertime, and it was quite a few years in a row that they did this. Anyway, so I befriended them, and every summer I'd always go see these, and they were grandkids of the persons who ran the one post office there. So anyways, that person was from out of town. They ended up bringing Spawn comics in, and I cannot remember quite what issue it was. I kind of have in my mind that it might be maybe in issue 3 or in issue number 21. I can't quite remember there. It was still early on, so it probably might have been issue number 3. I think it had a Violator cover. So that was another way I was introduced to another dark hero and Spawn, which I love and continue to collect. And Todd McFarlane being, you know, Canadian-born, that's another big thing. And Wolverine was a Canadian character, so you know, you can see all this relation. But anyway, so once I moved to Barrhead, and I was 14 years old when I came to Barrhead, and you know, 16, 17. And traveling to the city with friends and kind of picking up issues here and there and grabbing back issues of Spawn and Wolverine. Those were the big 2 main ones that I always wanted to try to get and continued to follow, was Wolverine and Spawn. Wanted those ones to always be up to date. And then came eventually the Ultimate Universe. And that was kind of a way where I was able to get into and kind of keep up on Spider-Man. Again, a character that I liked, but because of a lot of, you know, the availability of getting all these comics was very low. The opportunities just weren't there. So I started picking up trades of Ultimate X-Men and Ultimate Spider-Man, and kind of kept myself into the Spider-Verse that way a bit. And then I can't even remember what age I was, but 22, 23, something like that. I can't remember quite, but got my license when in my early 20s. And of course that's where things really exploded, to getting my license, searching out for other closer comic book shops and all that kind of stuff. And into my 20s I was able to get a computer as well too. That was another thing that my mom never had, never knew about. She can't do anything on a computer. Like I say, her world is so confined and so small. You know, you guys, she's a small lady, and her world is so small. Okay, so I ended up buying a computer for myself. You know, getting into the job world and stuff like that, and of course, getting on the internet, that quite expands your you know, knowledge and interaction with the comic book world. So finally, when I got my license and I was able to travel here and there, and it's very hard for me to travel the city because, you know, getting my license so late and coming from a family that just kept things quite confined. You know, again, it's something that a struggle in my life. But now, again, like I say, knowing all these things that I grew up with in my family, I can see all my, you know, missed opportunities and all this kind of stuff. This is getting a little personal, but you guys are such good friends anyways, you can hear this. But, you know, I'm able to give my family, my son, you know, a lot more than I ever had as a kid, and all those missed opportunities I think I'm going to, you know, help him with. And you know, I got RESPs set up for my son and whatnot. I mean, I got a house, I got a you know, own a vehicle, you know, beautiful wife. Like, it's just, I don't know, I got a lot more than I ever did as a child. And but comic books is a big thing in my life too. And it's one of those things that really helped me. I mean, the reading and helping with creativity and all that kind of stuff. Again, coming from you know, a small confined family, and you know, sadly to say, wasn't very educated. Comic books really helped me in that sense too. I mean, reading really helps everybody, I guess. And my sister is actually a person who I don't know what's the word to quite say it quite I don't know, nicely, I guess, but she's a mentally challenged person, I guess, in a sense. Not like the drooly kind, but very stunted mentally, and like, you know, she can't even count like $1 basically. So, you know, and she was a person who all went through all the kind of grades, and of course in special classes, but not really much of it helped. So, me, you know, reading and stuff like that, I mean, it really helped. Me just reading, and I think it helped me educate myself in a way, learning new words, really challenging my mind, and with my creativity. And I got into drawing, and I love art because of comic books. So yeah, I mean, it means a lot to me. And I mean, comic books, I mean, just a great read, but I mean, it's an escape as well from, you know, all the stuff going on in your life. And you know, it's just the one thing that's just for you. You know, you can just, it's not for anybody else, just for you. You can sit in your room, you know, sit in bed, sit in a chair, wherever, get comfortable, just read a comic book, let all your stress kind of go away and submerge yourself in there, you know, and just kind of brings you back down, you know, whatever's stressing you, it kind of focuses you, centers you. So comic books do mean a lot to me, and they're a great part of my upbringing. So now, going forward again, after getting my license and finding a comic book shop that I really like, and of course able to get subscriptions and things like that, and I used to visit the one in West Hampton Mall a lot, you know, and I always pepper in some issues here and there. So I was gaining, and you know, I was getting boxes and all the supplies and all that kind of stuff, and then, oh heck, here, I don't know, was it 2005-ish, somewhere around there, then getting into a comic book shop that had the subscriptions. And of course that's where things got pretty crazy too. I mean, earning in a job where I was able to get lots more money, and again, that's, my work world has been a slow climb. I mean, I've always been you know, started low and getting some money, and of course somebody who doesn't have, you know, graduated high school with no post-secondary training or anything like that, you know, I've definitely learned something from each job, but always, you know, my pay has always been going up. You know, I go from one job to another, and I learn something and I go on to the next thing. So at a job that was raising, you know, good amounts of money for me, I was able to, you know, have my car and be able to pay for the gas, insurance, and all this kind of stuff. I ended up going into roommates with a buddy that I befriended that actually come down from Newfoundland, and anyways, roommating with him and another fella. So it was being cheap on the rent and all that kind of stuff. Had good space there as well. A lot of my money, being a bachelor, just went on a lot of comic books and a lot of figures and all that kind of things. It just exploded. And of course, having a subscription, you know, I'd always have to be paying for those comic books, and then there was tie-ins, and I'd get a tie-in to this, and then that issue would run, and then that issue would lead into some other title, and it just kind of spiderwebbed, and I was spending a lot of money on comic books, hundreds a month, and of course with eBay as well too, right? Being a bachelor, not having to pay for anybody else but me, you know, I paid my rent, and then there was very little food, probably which why I was quite skinnier then too, is, you know, it was paid my bills, and then it was comic books, and then it was food. And eBay, I would spend a lot of money on eBay. I'd probably spend a couple hundred a month just on eBay as well, plus getting my regular monthly comic books too. and a lot of them weren't even that great of comic books. I was getting a lot of modern too that weren't all that great too, but a lot of good 80s and 90s comic books I was getting too. So then from there, you know, eventually meeting the lady that is now my wife, and I was still into you know, the subscriptions and all that kind of thing. So of course, though, you know, meeting her and our relationship just, you know, bloomed really fast. I love how everything turned out. You know, we eventually moved in together, and of course, you know, we had a kid together, and we got married. And then again, that's where there's another shift in me as a comic collector. You know, of course, my focus is my family and those bills, and giving my son those opportunities that I never had as a child. So from there, and then it was all of a sudden, you know, slash, tons of stuff got cut. I'm down, hardly really spending that much a week, of course, and I just can't, because family's first. And I used to always go at least every paycheck to the city, so like every 2 weeks I was going to the city and getting what I wanted in movies and shirts and comic books and all. So anyways, yeah, as I was saying to you guys before the camera ran out of memory there, yeah, just, you know, another change, of course, when my son was born, and you know, we went to buy a house, you know, all those kind of things, and of course family's first, so I mean, real big pullback on comic books. And but what it did for me is really kind of focused me, because I was getting a lot of junk and spending my money on tons of money on stuff that I really didn't need, and I could have been putting into a lot of better, older, more collectible, more worthy comic books. And of course, being married and, you know, having my focus on family in the home, really focusing my comic collecting. And that's where my giant size X-Men jug came from, and now of course the recent you know, the mystery jug, where I'm saving up for a whole year for next year's Calgary Comic Show. So yeah, definitely put a lot of focus on it, and it's my family is good, and it's a good change for me as a collector too. So yeah, I don't know, this video has been very long. I thank you guys for sticking around, if you've stuck around this long. But I mean, there's tons. I mean, this is a subject matter, I mean, to comic book guys. I mean, obviously, I mean, that first video of mine of what influenced you definitely set off kind of a trend, and you know, so it's something that, I mean, us comic book guys, we could talk about lots, and I know I probably missed out on talking about lots that I could have, but it was great hearing you guys' opinions, just and your personal history with comic books and your life, you know, kind of throughout the years, and where comic books were with you. And so thank you guys. Actually, if I could quickly, I know this has gone too long, so I might as well just continue making it a little longer. But just wanted to quickly talk about some issues that kind of influenced me into what I am reading currently, and again, that's within, you know, the 2000s, I guess, where I was really, you know, of course, able to explore and go outside the small little world that I was in, and just get a lot of these comic books. So first, I want to say Spider-Man, what kind of got me reading currently. Of course, I've already mentioned the Ultimate Universe kind of kept me intrigued a little bit, but of course I've gotten away from that since. But the Ultimate Universe kind of led into me reading the regular universe, of course, and I've had issues peppered in my collection here and there before then. But then in came the you know, the Spider-Man movies, which were really awesome. Really loved them. And I think this issue I'm going to talk about is came about right around Spider-Man 3, I think it was. And that issue is Amazing Spider-Man 539, which was the Back in Black, where he got the black suit. And there was quite a few tie-ins with Sensational, Spider-Man, and Spectacular, and the Amazing. And it was a really great issue. I got the first print of it, and loved the whole storyline with him going against Wilson Fisk. And of course the Back in Black led to where Aunt May was shot, and then of course that leading into you know, One More Day, which a lot, you know, didn't like. But I mean, Spider-Man is pretty good now. So, but yeah, that's issue 539 is basically kind of what helped me collect Amazing Spider-Man continuously. I love this storyline. I mean, Back in Black was a really great storyline. What helped me get to read Hulk regularly was Hulk. I think it started around issue 92, which was the Planet Hulk. At that time I was working in custodial work, and one of the places that I worked at was the local IGA, and of course the newsstand editions were there. So, you know, when we'd have our break, and, you know, it'd be like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I would go on the newsstand. I'd just go grab one of the issues and start reading it. So I loved the Planet Hulk stuff so much. That's what led me into reading Hulk regularly. And of course Spawn, I've kind of touched on that a little bit. I think it was issue 3 or somewhere in there, some of the early issues where that fella showed me when I was still living in Radway. But my first actual Spawn comic, I believe, was issue number 44. I can't remember the story, but I do remember, as I recall, the cover was with Spawn kind of looking at you, and there was a giant snake on the cover. I believe that's what the cover was. And Spawn is just, I think, has been really, really good. So yeah, probably that early issue kind of influenced me, stayed in my mind. But started really collecting from issue 44 of Spawn. Captain America, and again, some more issues that were kind of peppered throughout my collection here and there. But what got me collecting regularly was the death of Captain America, that event. And so I had picked up a couple of different issues of Captain America number 25. And before then, I had collected the Civil War in trades. That was really good, and that's what helped me a lot too. I mean, to catch up on a lot of stuff is collecting some trades. And then of course getting the death of Captain America, and I went back a little bit, you know, a few issues, and the interaction with Captain America, or Bucky Barnes, and Iron Man. And of course there were some Iron Man issues I had to get that were connected to the death of Captain America, because eventually it was Tony Stark who helped and asked Bucky Barnes to be Captain America. So that's what got me collecting Cap regularly. Of course, Wolverine, basically since, you know, that issue 82 that I'd gotten and seen in my early days. I can't even, you know, Venom. I cannot remember what the first issue of Venom I got was that really influenced me to continue collecting Venom, but oh man, I can't remember whether it was the Hunger or the Mace storyline. I think it might have been that one with the embossed cover, but yeah, definitely that was a big influence. Hellboy, I think that again the movie helped bring me to the Hellboy universe. I knew of Hellboy before, but I wasn't much into the indie comics. I kind of stuck with Marvels, and you know, so I think I got the trade. I picked up, oh man, I got like 12 or 13 trades of Hellboy, but really reading the book, you know, I think I saw the movie after I got the trade. But reading the real Hellboy stories, the comic books, were just amazing. Picked it up, that first trade, I was hooked right from there. Hellboy is just so amazing. Mignola's work is just great. It never takes a dip down. It always goes up. So that was really great. X-Men, again, issues here and there. But what got me collecting regularly was right around issue the 200s, 204, 205, somewhere around there, with the Messiah War and which led into the Cable series with Hope, and Second Coming and all that kind of stuff. So that's what really helped me launch me into getting regularly instead of getting X-Men, here and there. And of course Doc and Wolverine's son, and the series called Wolverine Origins, I thought was just so fantastic. FF, and again, never had many FF issues, wasn't a big fan of Fantastic Four, but the death of Johnny Storm, I just read that issue, I thought it was pretty good, it had its things about it, but it was really good, and it led into FF, and I thought it was so amazing that, just had to keep getting it. And some of the Witchblade and Artifact stuff that I got now, of course, my wife, she wanted to get into some comic books here and there, so I've been picking up those, and I used to collect a bit of the Witchblade and get back issues, back in the late 90s, but yeah, I don't know, that's about that. If anybody wants to know any more about, what comic books kind of influenced me to read what I'm reading now, let me know. And I know, of course, in this video, I'm a Marvel fan, but I never touched on anything about DC, so if you guys really want to know a little bit more about, some of the DC stuff, history with that, it's not much, and I have my kind of opinions and views on DC Comics and whatnot, but if you want to know any of that, let me know, or sometime I'll do a later video. But yeah, this video has gone on really long, sorry about that, you guys. It's just a really huge topic, and us comic book guys can talk about it so much. So anyways, that's where I'm pretty much going to end it. Just thank you guys for watching, thanks for sticking around, thanks for listening to my videos and my views, and just thank you guys. So yeah, that's about that. I'll see you guys later. Bye.